Hello, today I'm going to be talking about my comparative case study where I focus on professional interpreting in LUSD and professional interpreting in Downey Unified School District and Rollin Unified School District. And again, my name is Maria Dorantes and I will begin. So, to give a little bit of an overview or background information on this topic, in education, there are laws that require people, such as students, parents, and staff, to access interpreters and materials that are already translated for them in their language that they prefer. It is a law. Now, the role of the professional interpreter and translator in the United States, or at least in L Unified, and other school sites, such as the private ones in Downey Unified and Raleigh Unified School District, will vary. In this case study, I will aim to compare the usage of professional interpreters and their roles in every aspect of education, more specifically the roles of professional interpreters than the ones of that are translators, both public and private education sectors. Now, I'm gonna start with LUSD because this is the one that has a little bit more of a complex approach. Since LUSD does not have a differentiation between a translator and interpreter, they consider them to have the same um, title. So if you are going to apply to be an interpreter, translator in LUSD, you're doing both. You're not doing one or the other. According to them, a translator is someone who translates between English and designated foreign language, both in general, technical, legal, and medical documents. So the person who's applying for this particular job has to have a general idea of all subjects, not a very specific subject field that they are experts in. They have to have a general understanding of all of the following, and they have to provide oral interpretations during formal meetings before the Board of Education and other districts, including educational service centers, schools, and community meetings, and in conversations and interactions with families and the public. However, there are two roles. There's one that's a translator and interpreter, and there's a senior translator interpreter, which is only available in Spanish, since it is the largest group of the population in LA Unified. They also perform similar duties, but the only difference between a senior and a regular staff translator interpreter is that the senior staff translator interpreter will train, orient, and edit the work of the lower level interpreters. But again, this is only available in Spanish. So some of the responsibilities, there are shared responsibilities among them all, but however this one has to do with more of a extensive approach to interpreting and translating in all subject fields and domains. So this one has to do with translating speeches, psychological assessments, websites, IEPs, legal materials, workbooks, news articles, examinations, instructional and educational material, bulletins, correspondence, minutes from committees that they have meetings for, and forms, and they will have to produce verbatim translation of formal and informal meetings using idiomatic expressions when appropriate and necessary to ensure accurate and effective message content and intent transmission. This one is extremely important because this will identify the translator and the interpreter. The translator and interpreter are both the same thing, so the person has to do the duties of all, not just one. And for interpretation, the modes are simultaneous over the phone, consecutive site interpretations at school, communities, at district meetings that have to concern maybe legal issues, IEPs, expulsions, suspensions, again, educational service training meetings, and interactions simply with the public. So, the general knowledge is the best way to go about this type of job. It also requires people to follow the code of ethics to the T because, again, this has to do with legal. Sometimes it's legal, sometimes it's medical. So it's very important to have a very comprehensive approach to a lot of the subjects that are going to be discussed. Now, the difference between the ones that are going to be in the public sector, which is LA Unified, which is the private one, is that the roles are for LUSD are joined, and I cannot emphasize this enough. The roles here are joined. It's not one person is an interpreter, the other is a translator. But there are available languages that they're not available in the the private sectors. So for public sectors like LAUSD, we have Armenian, Cantonese, Korean, Mandarin, Russian, Spanish, Vietnamese, and for the senior one, it's only going to be in Spanish. However, the interpreter and translator in this position has to be the one that oversights their inventory. So they have to be able to check out their materials and do inventory whenever they have anything that's missing or they need any kind of support with materials that they need, especially for interpretation. So, in order for you to be any of the following things, you need to have two basic qualifications. The first one being a degree or a certification. So if you have a degree, you don't need a certification, but if you don't have a 4-year college degree, then you need a certification along with the high school diploma. And regardless of all of that, you need 2 years of experience doing editing, translating, and interpretation in the professional setting, along with a California driver's license. Since this role is not specific to one site, this is a district role, so therefore the movement is going to be required. For booking or for requesting of the materials, this one's more of all the materials are going to be available online, so people are able to register. The only people that can request a professional interpreter and translator are employees, district employees. The companies or the communities around the area cannot request professional interpreters, or parents of a school cannot request an interpreter, neither can students. Only the school site or school employees can request a professional interpreter to come to campus or to interpret or translate any material. And they're the only ones that have access to this website as well. The pay scale and the budgets for professional interpreters and translators are the following. So at the bottom left, we have the pay scale. The pay scale is circled in green, and it circles the first year, first kind of payment for any interpreter. A lot of the interpreters are going to start with C basis because they're classified employees, and they will have a starting year salary of 51,473 $51,473 a year, and a month they would make $4,289. However, this is only available at the district level. If this was to become a staff or in-person or on-site translator, the school would have to pay per half their budget, which again comes to the budgeting of the schools. Schools in the South District don't have money. If we look at the chart at the top, there's numbers 176 to 179. Those are 4 schools in 4 different locations. So the circle around the ESWS, it refers to the districts. So like I mentioned before, we have local district east, south, west, and north. These refer to those. So the 2 schools that are in the south district are also the 2 schools that earn the less money, but are also the 2 schools that have the less number of students. So on circle number 2, the 699, 449, 848, and 472 are the number of students that are projected to have those schools, particularly in the next school year. That transfers to the number or to the budget, which is number 3, that they are going to be receiving from the district, which is going to be in the 2024-2025 fiscal school year. And then again, the South District will only be receiving for Community and Technology at Diego Rivera. They will be receiving $133,285 for the next school year, which is not enough to pay for a staff interpreter to be present at the school site, even if they were to need one. So they could only pay for certain amounts of things this school year, which is again has to do a lot with how the budget works in LA Unified. However, in the private sector, so for Rolla Unified School District, they do have a specification for who is an interpreter and who is not a translator. So for the interpreter, they have only consecutive and simultaneous mode and available in Spanish, Korean, or Mandarin, and they only have 1 staff member per language. So they only have 3 professional interpreters working for Rolla Unified School District, and again, this will vary depending on how big or how small the districts are in California. So the description for Raleigh Unified School District translator and interpreter are the following. They're going to provide services to families and communities so that way they can have equitable access to information and resources about their children's education. So anyone can apply to request a professional translator so long as they are part of the Raleigh Unified School District. And they give the snapshot of kind of what the request form is. So you have the request, confirmation, decline, and the confirmation date, and what to do when the interpreter accepts. The interpreter then has availability to check out material specifically from the Department of Special Projects and Gate office, and they will arrange the pickup and everything. They don't have to do inventory. All they have to do is ask for a pickup and go back and check it out, and then check it back in, which is practically it. And they are again available Korean, Mandarin, and Spanish. They will have 2 roles, a translator and interpreter, but they are able to choose their projects accordingly to what people are requesting. The pay scale, this is for the Downey Unified School District, but it also is similar to the Raleigh Unified School District. There was just no pay scale that I could find. For Downey Unified School District, the translator interpreter role will begin at $4,080 a month, which is $23.53 or 54 cents if we round it up in hour. And then there's also one for the sign language interpreter, which is around $5,600 a month, which roughly is $32.31 an hour. And as you go more right, you're also increasing in the years of experience. For my literature review, I found the following articles that discuss the importance of having a professional interpreter both in the private and public sector, and kind of explains the reason why some of them have accents, some of them don't. So I will begin. So the research by Lopez and Hernandez in 2019 underscores the critical role of language services in supporting English language learners, also known as EBs now, emerging bilinguals, and their families in navigating the educational system. Language services encompasses interpretation services for parent-teacher conference, translation of educational materials, and language support in the classrooms, ensuring that language barriers do not hinder academic success. Studies focusing on LAUSD highlight the comprehensive nature of language services in public education settings. Garcia and Martinez discussed the establishment of language service departments, recruitment of bilingual staff, and utilization of technology for real-time interpretation, showcasing LAUSD's commitment to language access for all students and families. In contrast, research on language services in private schools like Downey Unified School District and Raleigh Unified School District reveals varying levels of access and utilization. Smith and Kahn note that the larger and well-funded private schools may have dedicated language support teams or contracts with external language service providers, while smaller private schools may rely on ad hoc language services based on student needs and available resources. They both face challenges, but it's important to note that they have to enhance the language service to promote more inclusive educational practices. And I have some testimonies here from a couple of two students and two teachers, both at private and LUSU schools, with essentially just this note that they never were aware that there were translators available for them to use, that they were mostly aided by bilingual staff. In conclusion, my case study kind of highlight the importance of language services in education and the differences and similarities in the utilization between public schools like the ones in the LUSD and private schools like the ones in Downey Unified School District and Raleigh Unified School District in California. Collaborate efforts and best practices can help address challenges and enhance language access for all students, regardless of their linguistic backgrounds, fostering a more inclusive and equitable educational environment. While professional translators and interpreters are responsible and need to have a more general knowledge in everything for LAUSD, in private schools they are more clear routine. There's more expectations to what the jobs are, and the interpreters will only perform an interpreter's role. The smaller the district is, and the more accessible to the community. So again, the more smaller the district, the more accessible it is to all of us. In the larger the school district, the more restraints there are to its access, despite having more students and families to accommodate to. And lastly, my works cited and all the links to everything that I have used today are going to be found in the last slide. I hope you liked it. Have a good night.